The Swadeshi movement, our shared cultural heritage of Indian national movement, world's founding movement, world's glorious heritage, founding movement of Indian freedom struggle that forced colonial rule to revisit its communal designed decision, partition of Bengal, to acquire in-depth and comprehensive understanding of a movement that added a new momentum to Indian national movements strive towards realizing nation's self-determination at the turn of 20th century that embraced or witnessed just with destiny, India's freedom was founding movement, inspiration or template for other nations under the colonial curse. It is essential to understand its background that inspired or catalyzed it and its major contributions that created a foundation to next phase of Indian national movement, specifically Gandhian era of nationalism. Swadeshi reflection of indigenous wisdom, pride on glorious Indian composite culture and heritage, an opportunity to unlock potential of mass struggle based on people's creativity, courage, self-sacrifice, and revolve around self-reliance, Atam Shakti. So this movement, 1903 to 1908, was a mass movement aims to accomplish nation's self-determination. Swaraj. Its background. Indian national movements. Pan India Apex Organization. Indian National Congress. Its formation and its first phase of modern politics, revolve around prayers, petitions, and protest within the established constitutional framework of British colonial rule. During the first phase, we cannot ignore this outstanding or historic fact that early nationalist moderates showed the seeds well and deep of nationalism, patriotism, or laid down or created foundation of Indian national movement, the most deeply and firmly rooted in in-depth and comprehensive understanding of the nature and character colonial exploitation and domination. The next phase of Indian National Congress, after phase of moderate politics or phase of moderate or phase of political mendicancy, the extremist phase or phase of radical politics, extremist nationalists eagerness of radical mass mobilization, resilient mass movement intended to achieve Swaraj. In extremists' view, Swaraj means complete independence, not dominion status, as it was meant by moderates. Swadeshi movement created a resilient base for Gandhian era of nationalism in diverse dimensions. The causes that inspired and driving forces behind a mass movement can be crystallized as fundamental, foundational, and immediate. Fundamental or foundational causes that create a foundation or state, that an immediate cause or factor ignited a mass struggle, mobilized masses for nation self-determination as a collective goal. Resilient Bengali unity. built on deep rooted understanding of exploitative, discriminatory, racist, and oppressive colonial character, and awakened nationalism aims to liberate nations from cursed colonial cultures. Frustration of last decades, or in other words, the face of cruel colonial rule exposed in last decades. Exploitative economic policies such as permanent settlement, destruction of indigenous handicrafts, cottage industries, livelihood or lifeblood of Indian economy, insensitive, cruel, irresponsive face of colonial rule during the hours of crisis such as famine and droughts, international boosters that boosted international movement, founding moments of this movement like Japanese trip over Russia and Ethiopian inspiration. The Imperial Italian army was defeated by Ethiopia in one of the greatest battles of history of Africa, continent of hope, Battle of Adawa on March 1st, 1896. These inspiring historic international events destroyed the myth of European invincibility. The immediate factor that fermented mass struggle, mobilize masses, ordinary people for a collective goal, nation's self-determination, nation's dignity. Partition of Bengal on communal lines. Partition of Bengal on communal design. For an example, on 3rd December 1903, Home Secretary Ridgely published Plan of Partition. An immediate and spontaneous protest, resilience, response followed this. On July 19, 1905, formal declaration of Bengal's partition announced new means of protest and solidarity introduced in mass struggle syllabus. The formal proclamation of the Swadeshi movement made on the August 7, 1905 in a meeting held at Calcutta Town Hall. The movement, hitherto sporadic and spontaneous, now had a focus and leadership that was coming together. On September 1st, the government announced that partition was to take effect. The partition was to be effected on October 16, 1905. The following weeks saw protest meetings held almost every day all over Bengal. The day partition on communal lines took effect was declared a day of mourning. The day of mourning or hour of crisis when creativity, courage, emotional bondage, or resilient Bangla culture was on its zenith. Now, if we discuss the causes behind partition, first official claim. Administrative convenience was the official claim or official cause behind Bengal's partition. Example, Lord Curzon declared partition as mere adjustment of administrative borders. If you analyze this official claim, there was no questioning of fact that Bengal that included present-day Bangladesh, West Bengal, Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha, and Assam, too large geographically to govern or administer effectively and efficiently. Demographically, Bengal with 78 million population, about a quarter of the population of British India, had indeed became administratively unwieldy. The question or issue of administrative robustness or administrative convenience. There were many ways to introduce efficiency and administrative robustness. For example, the organization of Bengal addressing linguistic expectations, demands of people, as that was done in formation of Bihar and Odisha on April 1st, 1936 without provoking any protest. These facts established these facts establish official claim as factually incorrect, analytically flawed, biased, communal, and conclusively contradictory. The real cause behind this communal conspiracy reflected in Curzon's colonial intentions, as Curzon was a supreme representative of a colonial force in colony to exploit it and suppress any voice of resistance against its policies. The intention of Curzon reflected in their statements. First, I believe the Congress is tottering to its fall, and one of my greatest ambitions while in India is to assist it to a peaceful demise. Curzon to Secretary of State. Second, Curzon's dedication or determination to to dethrone Calcutta from its position. Why? Bengal as a narrow center of Indian nationalism. Home Secretary Ridgely said on December 6, 1905, Bengal united is power. Bengal divided will pull several different ways. Curzon's speech at Decca revolved around as partition was blessing for Muslims unity never ever imagined and achieved. These facts reflected in letters and official communications reflects the national apprehension or the insights precision of national leadership behind the behind the causes behind the partition of Bengal that accelerated mass struggle resistance against the divide and rule conspiracy of colonial rule. If we discuss the nature of Swadeshi movement was a national mass movement, but its epicenter was West Bengal. Although some centers of nationalistic resistance influential during this movement in Madras, Bombay, Pune, Delhi, Punjab, Jammu, Kangra, Multan, and Hardwar. But at the same time, Eastern Bengal was almost dormant during historic movement Swadeshi. That was the success of colonial rules, communal politics, communal designs. It was a mass movement, but Muslims, not all, but almost, and peasantry's absence were regressive facts, elements for international movement. In last phase, establishment of Muslim League to serve a colonial communal agenda and communal rights. Colonial sponsored and communal organizations nurtured communities corroded the shared cultural heritage of essential of Indian national movement. If you take inspiration or if you discuss the outstanding contribution of Swadeshi movement reflected in its multidimensional impacts. First, departure from Indian National Congress and its first phase of moderate politics, or in critics language, phase of political mendicancy. Swadeshi, Swaraj, boycott, and national education. The 4 point historic resolution passed in Calcutta session of Indian National Congress presided over by Dadabhai Nauroji, great grand old man of India, who conceptualized drain of wealth theory that inculcated understanding among Indian masses, the real character or the real exploitative, cruel character of British rule. Integrative, cohesive cultural traditions and customs and festivals harnessed to mobilize people's participation in national movement like Raksha Bandhan as a symbol of unity among people of composite Indian culture, syncretic Indian heritage. Amar Sonar Bangla evoked nationalism and reflection of Bengal's cultural fraternity, pride, indigenous culture and creativity, identity, that after liberation war Bangladesh, it became Bangladesh national song, Amar Sonar Bangla. In literature, Bharat Bharati, Mithili Sengupta's creation around nationalistic purpose, art, it inspired indigenous creation or creativity. The historic name Abhinendranath established Oriental School of Art. He broke the domination of Victorian naturalism or Indian art and sought inspiration from rich indigenous traditions of Rajput, Mughal, and Ajanta paintings. Painting of Bharat visualized intangible emotion of nationalism, transformed nationalism's emotions into concrete capabilities where nationalists embraced gallows, supreme sacrifice with pride for nation. Economic entrepreneurship encouraged, promoted innovative innovations in research and development in pharmaceuticals, encouraged, accelerated. For an example, Bengal Chemicals, under the leadership of P.C. Ray, nationalist education is inspired from Santiniketan, established by Rabindranath Tagore, the genius of Indian indigenous creativity. National Education Council, established to establish national colleges and schools. National College, Arvind was principal of National College, Arvind Ghosh. leader of extremism wing of Indian National Congress, who paved a new way for a mass struggle, writing articles in exemplary way of his sacrifice. Conflict between conservative moderation and courageous extremism that aims to revolutionize the entire nation around radical resolutions passed in Indian National Congress Calcutta session 1906 led split in Indian National Congress in 1907 Surat split. This was a regressive, unfortunate incident for Indian national movement. Non-cooperation, passive resistance, civil disobedience, directed foundation for Gandhian era of nationalism. After Swadeshi movement's decline, a rise of revolutionary nationalism injected lifeblood in Indian national movement during First World War, when Indian national movement was in its dormancy due to First World War and the split in Indian National Congress, colonial repression, oppression. In response to Indian National Congress consistent demand of political reforms and increased Indian representation in political institutions, government introduced Indian Council Act 1909, which was a success of Indian national movement in one dimension. But communal intention of British rule communalized on the roots of democracy through Indian Council Act 1909, or in specific through separate electorates on communal design for Muslims. First partition of Bengal on communal design and later separate electorate to institutionalize the communalism. Even the communalization of roots of democracy was an effort to institutionalize communal hatred, to strengthen the roots of colonial rule, to exploit colony in each and every dimension, in every possible way. Colonial sponsored and communal forces nurtured communalism, polarized politics, divided society. Its worst form, August 16, 1946, Direct Action Day, Calcutta killings, Noakhali massacres. Even partition of India was culmination of communalism and its worst form, communal rights, communal hatred among masses. But in spite all these facts, all these regressive facts, the cultural pride of Bangla unity, their creativity, courage, their indigenous pride reflected in Amar Sonar Bangla song, expression of glorious composite heritage of Bangla culture, integrated, mobilized people of eastern Pakistan against dictatorial, communal cruelty, brutality of western Pakistan. Example 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War in backdrop of Dhaka University genocide, Midnight Massacre. In an exercise codenamed Operation Searchlight, the Pakistan Army on night of March 25, 1971 began a brutal massacre that lasted for 9 months, that killed 3 million people, raped 3 lakh women. Bangla unity, resilience, and decisive Indian role in crisis liberated Bangladesh on December 16, 1971. Liberate Bangladesh adopted Amar Sonar Bangla as its national song. It was on August 7, 1905, that a formal proclamation was announced at Calcutta Town Hall to boycott foreign goods and embrace adopt Indian products to preserve this historic importance of Swadeshi for next generations. Government of India declared August 7 as a National Handloom Day. Now, political polarization, violence in West Bengal during festivals of democracy, elections established that West Bengal, deprived from its historic shared heritage of Swadeshi movement, its resilience of Bangla unity, fraternity, emotional integration that mobilized and integrated peoples emotionally, socially, and politically. Violence in elections blot on democratic Indian spirit in general and Bangla in particular, and Indian democratic ethos also. Failure of Indian constitution, failure of political parties to spread, to socialize the constitutional morality expected from their political campaigns. Now it is inspiring, it is expected that political parties adopt, embrace, or shared cultural heritage of Indian freedom struggle that inculcate unity, fraternity, for democratic thoughts, for a collective goal, transformation of our nation.